Yo, dudes, what's going on with y'all? This week I decided to check out Bad Parts by Brandon McNally. I chose this specifically because I've seen a good number of his writing videos on YouTube, and I figure if you're prepared to dish out that advice, you best be prepared to have your own work examined.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
After all, YouTubers have a not-so-great track record where books are concerned, and yet they brag about them anyway.
Well, thank you, and there's one for you.
Now, before we get into this, I think it's important to explain something. I often review a lot of work on this channel, and while I try to keep consistent on things like my analysis of plot and character, I do try to be understanding. After all, Brandon here likely doesn't have half of what Stephen King has in terms of resources. I doubt that he has the team behind him that Sanderson has. I understand that. I'm not going to harp on about little mistakes or errors in the way that I might if somebody had a multi-million-dollar platform, because I can't expect perfection from somebody who is working with comparatively little. There are some things I won't put against this book, because I really do want smaller writers to succeed. I love YouTube writer success stories, especially from YouTube critics, because I think that the underdog should win in bouts like this, frankly. It's why I wanted We'll Save the Galaxy for Food to be good. It's why I'm so happy that Dark Harvest was so good. If King writes a horror masterpiece, I can appreciate it for what it is, but he also has had everything going for him. It's like when LeBron James is doing well in a game. Sure, I appreciate the skill, but it's also just what he's known to do. If a newbie comes up and dunks all over James, I think it's worth special mention. That all is to say that there are things in Bad Parts that are worthy of critiques that I won't count against the book in the least. Perhaps the most glaring for the audiobook is actually the recording. Nothing against the narrator, but she clearly isn't working in a professional studio, or at least not with a professional mixing team, because the recordings change quality, well, not unlike my own do if I don't record them all at once. I suspect she's working out of her home and is either considerably more affordable, or else a friend of a friend, or a friend to the author. She reads quite well, but there are sudden shifts in quality, and those are very off-putting. But, as I say, I will in no way count this against the quality of the book. It will not affect my score. Things like this are due to a lack of funding and control, and not something that I can punish him for. Everyone follow me on stuff like that? Good. So, all that taken into account, how does the actual book hold up? Fuck me, this book is shit. You might say that's being a bit harsh.
Is it harsh if it's the truth?
Our prologue gives us a man tied up in his car as he's being abducted. There are mentions of him having traded in his kidneys and his hippocampus, which is where I'm guessing the sci-fi part of this book comes in. We jump to Ash, who is the lead member of a band in a Battle of the Bands contest, and no joke, somebody beats the living shit out of one of their members. They think so her band can't win. I don't know who cared this much about a Battle of the Bands contest in the history of ever, but they decide to play on anyway, in what is really an asshole move, especially as one of their players even calls this out. But they decide to go on anyway and kick ass in a very I'm the main character kind of vibe until the mosh pit gets too rough and decide to stop playing to punish the crowd. Like, isn't that literally the point of mosh pits? There's mentions of how they don't have a ton of money but are super talented, and she plays a Gibson, which are not cheap guitars. Sure, bands often prioritize their equipment over, things like food, but I'm all over the place with where and what this band is supposed to be, or why they're just assholes. Even if they pack up, they don't go visit their friend in the hospital, who had the tar beaten out of them for literally no given reason. Also, this beating will never be explained. It just happens, and that's all there is to it. They're more upset that they've stopped the gig, but they had to save 2 fans' lives who were too close to the mosh pit, apparently. Just everything in 5 seconds, this reeks of wanting moments and not bothering with an actual cohesive plot or the path to get there. This is rapid-fire stupidity at its prime. Is this J.J. Abrams under a different name? Is that what this is? But anyway, it turns out that Ash's home has a magic river where you can trade in a broken body part for one that will suit you perfectly. If you do this, you cannot leave more than 10 miles or so, or the part will vanish, so saith the demon of the river.
Why doesn't this world make sense?
No, I'm not making a joke. That's the story. Keep that in mind, because it's important. To keep this river secret, people who have previously traded in their parts hide the bodies of those who pass. There are some 70 people in total, but then one of them, for some reason, turns up injured but still alive. 2 others kill him. Because apparently no one in this can be an actual fucking human being with a remote bit of empathy. Everybody is horrible.
Someone's a fuckface!
But someone attacks Ash and he smashes her hand in so she can't play. Keep that in mind, it'll be important later. But the demon of the river tells her if she gives her enough bad parts to complete it, then everybody can leave the 10-mile radius with their replacements. This has to be done by sundown. There's like 5 parts she needs. Now, these people are pretty horrible, so the obvious solution here is to break several bones until all the bad parts you need to replace are traded in, because making deals with demons always goes well. I said this as a joke, but this does kind of happen later.
I think you've reached a new level of stupid.
Spoilers abound, so skip to me final thoughts if you want to avoid plot details. So while they don't go quite so drastic as that at first, they go around town collecting people who conveniently need all the parts required. This demon is painted as someone who just wanted to help people. Always nice to see a literal demon apologist.
Yeah. What's your lore? What's your lore?
Well, I have a couple of races that I...
And the lady in charge of the traders is a sociopath who doesn't want people to be able to leave town because... reasons. Like, everyone in this book is just a genuinely horrible person. Ash fucked up her brother's leg because she was feeling sorry for herself and got in a wreck, and then she fled because him being injured made her feel bad. And then Cheeto, her bandmate, says she felt bad about it when she was away from home, so she's really a good person. Sure, if you say so. Brother's kid blinded himself from jumping into a lake and blames his dad for it for literally no reason. So Ash's brother tells her she can go fuck herself, but then realizes he can use this deal to get back in his son's good books, and now he's on board with it. There's even a bit when he contemplates and almost settles on killing the current trader for her eyes, because only one person can have traded eyes apparently, but they don't go that far. Instead, they only kidnap her, drive her 10 miles out of town, and make her permanently blind. Again, everyone is horrible. Cheeto discovers Ash's arm is gone, and then borderline rapes her arm.
I'll use an ultra-romantic style of epic proportions.
Ultra-romantic?
But he's a good guy, so it's fine, and they get together. Then he starts to realize how horrible a person Ash actually is, despite having claimed otherwise with no base. Just everyone in this, with the possible exception of Dad Cop, and I mean, if you squint at it, is just a horrible, horrible person. I don't like anyone in this book. They're all assholes. Anyway, after they blind the woman, Cheeto throws a fit about it because he's a moron and is therefore allowed to be an actual human being. And then he's killed, so the book can book. The demon betrays everyone, surprise, surprise, and there's a huge fight at the end where most of the people in the town, and about 1 million people surrounding the town, are killed in some bullshit fog. I am not making this up.
Where you going? Where the what the? Phil, you see that? Do you see?
Then Dad Cop, Ash, and Nephew, who are basically the only ones still alive at the end, kill the demon and leave, gaining nothing, learning nothing, and taking the attitude of, fuck you, got mine. Like, I don't know if this author just has a hard-on for the personalities of Last of Us or something, but holy shit, man. This is horrible.
And you... No high five.
Let's jump back a second, though. Remember when I mentioned something about somebody smashing up Ash's hand? You should, because I told you it was going to be important. It turns out this person traded in their brain to the demon and basically had their body be controlled by them because reasons. And the demon wanted to make somebody desperate, so it made the guy with the traded in brain track down Ash, who was far more than 10 miles outside of town, and smash the shit out of her hand to make her desperate enough to trade. People who are paying attention might also note that people with traded parts can't go more than 10 miles out of town. There's a fuckery afoot here. All of this I lay squarely at your feet. I'm amazed somebody who understands some aspects of writing so well could create this. It's like you're a chef who goes on at length about the importance of fresh vegetables, but then you don't know how to boil water. How do you do this? My personal score is 1 out of 10. If there's merit in this, it's as a how not to do it guide. This is Last Jedi level, and like Ryan, I'm guessing you stay nailed to your creation. Let's go ahead and take a look at that bingo card, and hey, unsurprising, something like this just destroys the bingo card. If only there were some demon minions and I had come across this book purely by chance, we would have completely filled it out. Oh well. Anyhow, that's all for this time, so if you have something else you want me to review, go ahead and leave a comment down below, let me know. If you want to see what we get into next time, go ahead and subscribe. Until then, drink plenty of water, tell your parents that you love them, and stroke your mustache at night.